This is the last and final night of Islam Awareness Week, and we have a very special guest that I'm very honored and pleased to bring to you all. His name is Brother Mutah Beale, and he is formerly Napoleon of Tupacs Outlawz, which I'm sure most of you are well aware. And to begin, I'd like to begin with the recitation of the Quran by Brother Muhammad Mana.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم واتل عليهم نبأ إبراهيم إذ قال لأبيه وقومه ما تعبدون رب هب لي حكما وألحقني بالصالحين واجعل لي لسان صدق في الآخرين واجعلني من ورثة جنة النعيم واغفر لأبي إنه كان من الضالين ولا تخزني يوم يبعثون يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم وأزلفت الجنة للمتقين وبرزت الجحيم للغاوين وقيل لهم أين ما كنتم تعبدون من دون الله هل ينصرونكم أو ينتصرون فكبكبوا فيها هم والغاوون وجنود إبليس أجمعون قالوا وهم فيها يختصمون تالله إن كنا لفي ضلال مبين إذ نسويكم برب العالمين وما أضلنا إلا المجرمون فما لنا من شافعين ولا صديق حميم فلو أن لنا كرة فنكون من المؤمنين إن في ذلك لآية وما كان أكثرهم مؤمنين وإن ربك لهو العزيز الرحيم.
And recite to them the news of Abraham, when he said to his father and his people, "What do you worship?" They said, "We worship idols and remain to them devoted." He said, do they hear you when you supplicate, or do they benefit you, or do they harm? They said, "But we found our fathers doing thus." He said, "Then do you see what you have been worshiping, you and your ancient forefathers? Indeed they are enemies to me, except the Lord of the worlds, who created me, and he is who guides me, and it is he who feeds me and gives me drink. And when I am ill, it is he who cures me. And who will cause me to die and then bring me to life? And who I aspire that he will forgive me my sin on the day of recompense." And he said, "My Lord, grant me authority and join me with the righteous, and grant me a reputation of honor among later generations, and place me among the inheritors of the garden of pleasure. And forgive my father, indeed he has been of those astray. And do not disgrace me on the day that they are all resurrected, the day when there will not benefit anyone wealth or children, but only one who comes to Allah with a sound heart. And paradise will be near that day to the righteous, and hellfire will be brought forth for the deviators. And it will be said to them, where are those you used to worship other than Allah? Can they help you or help themselves? So they will be overturned into hellfire, they and the deviators. and the soldiers of Iblis, Satan, all together. They will say while they dispute therein, by Allah, we were indeed in manifest error when we equated you with the Lord of all the worlds. And no one misguided us except the criminals. So now we have no intercessors, and not a devoted friend. Then, if we only had a return to the world and could be of the believers. Indeed, in that is a sign, but most of them were not to be believers. And indeed, your Lord, He is the exalted in might, the merciful. Verily, Allah speaks the truth. Actually, we'd also like to add, please, if you're going to record, please refrain from doing so. We will have a recording posted up shortly.
Verily, all praise is due to Allah. We seek His help. We seek His aid. We seek His forgiveness. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil within our own souls. Whosoever Allah guides, there is no one to lead astray. Whosoever Allah leads astray, there is no one to guide upright. I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship in truth except Allah alone. He has no partners, and all dominions is His. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His messenger and seal of all the prophets. First of all, I just want to thank the people that invited me to this organization, invited me to this event. If we don't thank the people, we don't thank Allah. So once again, I want to thank you all for putting this event together. And basically, the brothers and sisters that put this event together, they asked me to come to do a story about my life. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm not a person of knowledge when it comes to the religion of Islam. I could just do what I do best, and basically, that's just break down my life story. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, to an African-American father, a Puerto Rican and Cuban mother. At the age of 3, both of my parents got murdered in front of me. I also got shot in the foot at the same time. The people that killed my mother and father, they was very close to my family. In Jahiliyyah, before Islam, we had so-called godparents. And one of the guys who killed my mother and father, actually the main guy, he was my godfather. So after the death of my parents, I moved with my grandparents. I had a 6-month-old brother at the time, and I had a 4-year-old brother in the house with me at the time. We moved with my grandparents from my father's side, who was basically kind enough to bring me and my brothers in to raise us. I don't know if I mentioned, both of my parents was also converts to the religion of Islam. So, of course, after they passed away, being that I was only 3 years old, I had no understanding of the religion of Islam whatsoever. So my grandmother, they started to raise me and my brothers, and they started to make us go to the church. And in some days, they literally forced us to go to church, you know what I mean? So, at a young age, we also started to hang in the streets. We had a very crowded house, to the point that we never wanted to be in the house. We always wanted to be on the streets, and we always wanted to just hang on the corners. So eventually, living a lifestyle like that, you would run into some trouble, and you would start to get yourself in some trouble. When I was raised up, the honest truth, if it was some bad stuff that happened in my neighborhood, like I said earlier, it was 99% chance that it was coming from one of my brothers or one of my cousins. If it was a stolen car in my neighborhood, it was a chance that it was my cousin. If it was somebody getting beat up, it was a chance it was all of us, because it was about 8 of us jumping people. We were just very wild kids at this time. Even to the point where the lady that lived across the street from us, I don't know if you guys ever heard of a program called Scared Straight, where they take so-called bad kids and they take them to the prisons and they're supposed to scare them straight. The lady across the street from us begged my grandmother if she could take us to Scared Straight, and my grandmother agreed and let us go to Scared Straight, but it probably worked for a few minutes, and then after that we was back on the streets. So after that, I remember at a young age that I was hanging around with my cousins and hanging around with my brothers, and we started to get in trouble. Even to the point at a very young age, I one day called myself selling drugs. And I remember the first day that I went on the block, I had some drugs with me, and the very same day I got arrested. And I remember getting arrested. They called my grandmother, and they let me out of the jail because I was only about 13, 12 years old. And I remember my brother and them, they was clowning me, like, man, what type of drug dealer get locked up the same day he hit the block? So eventually I said, well, I don't think that's a good occupation for me. I want to try to figure something else. So one of the things I turned to was to write raps, to write poetry. Whatever I started to see on the block, I would just go in my room and I would put it down in the form of a song. So if I see something within drug dealing or fighting, I would go and I would put it in a song. And at a very young age, even though I had the gun crime affected my life at a very young age, it seemed as if me and my brothers and my cousin, we was fascinated with that type of stuff.